Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning, good morning, y'all. It is Monday, October the 17th, 2022, and it is time for some news in motion. So, who's ready? Just say, I'm ready. I see you, Robert Holman. I see you, Regina Shorts and Jeffrey Payne. I see you, Adrian, coming in from YouTube. I see you, Shirley Nicholson. I see you, Kenny Stanley. I also see you in the green room. I see you, Lori Wallace. I see you, Deborah Johnson. Good morning to all of you. Good morning. Listen, talking about running to get in my chair before this went live. How about that? Yep, that's what happens. Yeah, I like that. Yes, it say, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready. I'm loving that, y'all. I am loving that. We have a lot of news. We're going to try to condense it as much as possible, but we do have a lot of news that we want to share with all of you this morning. So if you are tuning in by audio, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And guess what, y'all? There are people who are saying they cannot find us on Facebook. So we're trying to find other ways to reach people. My husband just pretty much said, listen here, I'm about to cut you off because I did something for the program, for News in Motion. I did something out of my own pocket, out of my own savings. Well, I guess I want to say the family savings or whatever, to make sure it gets on other platforms. So today we are excited to announce, I see you, Mary Owens. We are excited to announce that we are now on Twitter. So to find us on Twitter, just go to @NIM with Gail. It is on Twitter. So if you are tuning in on Twitter this morning, I just want to say good morning to all of you. We're a little crazy here, but we do give you relevant commentary with a call to action mixed with the inspirational message. That's who we are. So we just want to thank all of our Twitter followers, all of those who may be viewing us from Twitter. Good morning to you. My name is Gail Dudley, and I'm so excited that you decided to stop your scrolling to see what is News in Motion all about. So thank you for joining us. So y'all, it is Monday, October the 17th, 2022, and it's time for today's headlines right here on News in Motion. Again, News in Motion is an aggregated grassroots media outlet that we give relevant commentary and a call to action mixed with the inspirational message. For all of you who may be new to this platform, I give an inspirational message, and sometimes I do give Bible quotes from that. It's been the same way. We are going into our third year. We're 2.5 years old. We started in June 2020. Right around the height of the pandemic. We didn't do it because of the pandemic, but this was birthed out of the pandemic. So we would just want to welcome and thank all of you. I see you, Patricia Lyles. I see you, Felicia Williams. All right, y'all, I'm not going to beat a dead horse with the January 6th committee. Y'all know we are Monday through Thursday. The January 6th public hearing was at 1 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday. By now, you've seen everything that was going on. All I can say is, ooh, we to that. A lot was going on, a lot we didn't even know about. Some I wish I still didn't know anything about it, but that did happen. So we just want to talk about that just briefly to let everyone know that's an ongoing investigation. We're not sure if that's the last public hearing, but I'm so glad they did come back because the last one was in July. I'm so glad they did come back right before the election so that we could see what was going on. I see you, Liz Price. I see you, Camille Jones. All right, y'all. I thought this was very interesting. There's a post out here. New York Times did a piece on remarks by the new Supreme Court justices. Now, I thought it was very interesting that we didn't see this with the last two, like Amy Coney Barrett or Neil Gorsuch or Brett Kavanaugh. But we hear about this now that a Black woman's on the scene. So I guess they say we talk too much. Well, it is what it is, and maybe we do. And we ain't mad about it. So they put out here words spoken by each justice in their first 8 arguments. I find it very interesting that they put this out here when a Black justice is now on the bench. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, they said in her first 8 arguments, she shared 11,003 words. First of all, who's counting? And why did y'all think that was important to do so? Why are you keeping a track record here? I see you, Davia. So yes, y'all, that is what's happening. That's what's happening. Oh, it's so good. I can see the Twitter things popping up. It's so good. Yep, we're on Twitter today. We started today on Twitter. So yes, the remarks by new Supreme Court Justice, they said that Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson, 11,003 words. And again, I want to just stress this. So I am repeating myself, but I want to stress this. Why did y'all decide to count words? Now the Black woman's on the bench. Just so that y'all know, they're trying to compare her with the other justice that are on the bench. Amy, Justice Barrett, I'll just use the last name, 4,475 words, the first in her first 8 arguments. Sotomayor, 4,409 words. Justice Keegan's 4,025 words. Roberts, 3,469 words. Justice Neil Gorsuch, 2,657 words. Justice Kavanaugh, 2,385 words. Alito, 883 words. Thomas, 96 words. Again, this is coming out of the New York Times. And I'm just trying to figure out why would they have to bring this to the forefront. I like what you had to say there, Davia. She has tripled the knowledge and a lot of teaching to do. And she really did, because we did have that piece that was coming in from Alabama with the voters. And she really did break that down. She schooled them. So, but she had a lot of teaching to do. But it's just interesting how many people want to talk about this. It's just interesting. Deborah Johnson says, does this prove just how smart she is? Well, there's that as well. And Kenny Stanley weighed in and said, we have something to say. And when we get the platform, you will hear us. There you go. We do have something to say. So I wanted to share that. So they broke that down for us. Good AM, Dr. Antoinette, to you. But I just want to give a shout out to Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson. Next up, I want to share with you, this happened yesterday, but they're really, the actual day was yesterday, and that was World Food Day. And there's such a need. There's a need, not just in the United States, but around the world. This comes out of the White House statement by the President Joe Biden on World Food Day. He says today, which was yesterday, we reaffirm our commitment to ending hunger and malnutrition, creating a world in which no child has to go to bed hungry, no parent has to worry about how to feed their family, and no one has to face food insecurity. He goes on to talk about the need for action has never been greater. This year, the world is facing an unprecedented level of food insecurity and humanitarian crisis, worsened by the impact of Russia's aggressions against the Ukraine on global food supply. Y'all listen to this number. This is the only reason why I'm reading. I'm not going to read the whole thing. More than 300 million people are unable to access clean water, emergency medicine, shelter, and food without assistance. More than 100 million are forcibly displaced, and hundreds of million more are experiencing hunger. And y'all, again, 33 million of that are children right here in the United States. So we're looking now to see how we're going to move forward with Thanksgiving around the corner and Christmas here in the States. And then I was reminded this earlier this year, and I want to make sure I speak to it as well. Also, those in non-religious who may not celebrate Thanksgiving or Christmas, what can we do to help people? So the team and I are in the background trying to figure out the best way to do it. Me going to Aldi's and getting the cards and sending them out, that doesn't work. I mean, we did what we needed to do the past 2 years, but since that it increased last year, Thanksgiving, we had so many cards, as you all know. That was a lot. And furthermore, I don't want to deal with the money that way. So I just want to see the best way to do it. So if you all have any suggestions, please send those in. And you can email those to newsinmotion@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, we're open to that. The other thing I want to suggest, y'all, please don't forget about what I shared from the White House last week. The deadline is October the 19th, which is Wednesday. Don't wait till Wednesday. I'll do it today or tomorrow. Now, these are volunteer positions for the holidays, but they say this is the first time this has been released out here to the community. So if you have a gift, you're volunteering, which means you got to drive there or fly there, stay in a hotel or Airbnb once you get there. But imagine this on your resume, in your bio, that you did this. So again, there's 3 different applications, and we had the links up there last week. We put them in the thread on our page. We'll do it again today after the show as well. Volunteer decorator They're looking for volunteer decorators. Can y'all imagine that? Your tree, your decorations on display with your name on it. Come on, y'all. I know there's some gifts in here. Lori Wallace, where are you? Volunteer entertainment application. So they're looking for entertainment. They're looking for performers and musical groups, including school bands, choirs, holiday themed entertainers, poets, readers, spoken word. Y'all, come on, y'all know we have these gifts. Let's not sit on this. Let's not do that. And then the open house volunteer application, though there may be, you may be interested in volunteering to welcome our tour guests. Y'all, can y'all imagine that? Some of us going up there, we get accepted and we are at the front door welcoming people into the house, to the people's house. So y'all, again, there's a COVID-19 guidance. So now let me stop. You ain't vaccinated, you ain't going. So don't even worry about applying. But if you have been vaccinated, check this out. So y'all, we will put the links again in the thread. Come on, y'all have some of these gifts we need to put out here. I see you, Dr. Annette. I see you, and I see you, Marion. All right, y'all, real quick. Early voting starts today in Georgia. Early voting starts today in Georgia. Dominic, early voting starts today in Georgia. Iowa, your early voting starts October 19th. Rhode Island, October 19th. In Tennessee, October the 19th. In North Carolina, you are October the 20th. I'll give you one more. Washington, you are October 21st. So y'all, Georgia, come on, you can go ahead and vote. If you run into any type of voter intimidation, even in early voting, you can call this election protection hotline at 1-866-R-VOTE, 1-866-R-VOTE. The U.S. Department of Justice Voting Rights Hotline, if you need to contact them, they're 800-253-3931. Again, 800-253-3931. That's the Justice Department. The other thing I just want to give a shout out. This is still news, y'all. This is still news. Y'all, this is the Bomb magazine. I was like, wow, this really turned out. Y'all, I have a whole video on Instagram, but this turned out well. If you want the supplemental section that's in the back, that's the whole resources for voting. It's free digital. Just there's you can scan this QR code. If Isaiah can put that image up, you can scan that QR code and get the free digital download. If you want the printed copy just of the resource guide, not the entire magazine, just of the resource guide, I believe it's $1.60 plus shipping. But there's the scan that you can scan that. All right, y'all, we have Senate races to watch. We have Senate races to watch. All right, y'all, Pennsylvania, we have John Fetterman is running against Dr. Oz for an open seat. In Ohio, we have Tim Ryan, who is running against J.D. Vance for an open seat. North Carolina, we have Sherry Beasley is running against Ted Budd for an open seat. And in Florida, we have Val Demings, who is running against Marco Rubio. And in Wisconsin, we have Mandela Barnes running against Ron Johnson. All right, y'all, give you a new link that you can find as well when it comes to voting. Y'all, this link is phenomenal. It's amazing. I'm glad it's here. It's www.canivote.org. www.canivote.org. Again, that's www.canivote.org. You can go there to register to vote. Most every place, the voting registration is over, not unless you can show up. I believe there's 8 states. I'll talk about those tomorrow where you can show up the day of and register and vote at the same time. Register to vote, voter registration status. I'm getting a lot of calls, y'all, where people are saying they got there for early voting and something's happened. I'm telling y'all, please check your voting status right now. It takes less than 3 minutes and do any corrections you need to do. It normally changes within 48 to 72 hours. Y'all don't wait on this. Don't get to the polls to be turned around. On this link, you can find your polling place, valid forms of ID for each state, absentee and early voting, overseas voting, election official directory, and then how to become a poll worker. All of that's there. Now, if you visit the Can I Vote page, you want to click on your voter registration status located on the right side of the page. And this is called More in this section. I went through it, so I'm giving y'all these directions. Then you select your state from the drop down menu. Then when you are redirected to your state's election website, enter your personal information to determine if and where you're registered to vote. Now, what I found out, and I didn't try this because I didn't want them to have my number. I'm just going to be honest with y'all. According to several credible sources, you can also text check, CHECK, to 63033. I'll give y'all that number again. I don't have a banner for that. You can also text check, CHECK, to 63033. So I wanted to give you that information. Something that I have, I'll just be honest, I've overlooked over the past 2 years. I don't want to overlook today. There's also a federal voting assistance program. Again, federal voting assistance program. And this deals with military voters, overseas citizen voter, voting assistance officers, election officials, and general information. I'm going to give y'all that website as well. It's www.f as in Frank, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, P as in Paul. Oh, thank you, Isaiah.gov. Again, www.f as in Frank, V as in Victor, A as in Apple, P as in Paul.gov. Here's where you can go if you are a military voter, overseas citizen voter, whatever, voting assistance officers, election officials, general information. There's that website. I went to that website and it is filled with all types of great information, especially for people in the military and overseas citizen voters. All right, y'all. So that was a lot when it comes to voting. One more thing. I think there's only one more thing when it comes to voting, and then we'll go into other news. Did y'all see that debate? I just wanted to see it with Senator Warnock and candidate Walker in Georgia. I only hope that voters are paying attention. Reporting from CNN, Warnock argued, and I'm going to use their words and I'm going to paraphrase it. I'm going to use my words. Warnock argues for Medicaid expansion while Herschel Walker was so unclear. And when I say he was unclear, he was unclear. He was unclear. Georgia, Georgia is one of 12 states not to expand Medicaid and currently has an estimated 1.5 million uninsured residents. Now, Herschel Walker said, when asked, the moderator asked questions, when the moderator asked if the federal government would step in to make sure everyone has access to health care, the confusing response, and I'm trying to be real nice. I'm trying to be real nice here. This was his quote. He says, well, right now, people have coverage for health care. It's according to what type of coverage do you want. But if you have an able-bodied job, you're going to have health care. But everyone else have health care is the type of health care you're going to get. And I think that is the problem. I don't even know what he said. That was his quote. I don't even know what he said, but that was his quote. And then he goes on and talks about Warnock, saying that Warnock wants to depend on the government while he wants you to get off the government health care and get on the health care he's got. We don't know what kind of health Herschel Walker has. I don't know, but these were his direct quotes. I see y'all coming in tomorrow. What is he saying? It's just absolutely crazy what he was saying. So now y'all, Warnock, the current U.S. senator, is on government health care plan. Everyone in the chamber, they have that plan. And it's darn good, excuse me. He also gave, Herschel Walker also gave a crazy response to Warnock's attack on his opposition to federal legislation, capping the price of insulin for people with diabetes. Here's his quote from that. And I pulled the quotes right off of CNN because they had them in real time. He says, I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you have to eat right. This is Herschel Walker. He goes on to say, unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good. So you have to get food prices down, and you got to get gas prices down so you can go and get insulin. I'm so confused. And I watched it a few times. And I was like, what is he saying? So I'm saying all that. I'm not going to go through everything here. He also bought a prop. He bought his sheriff badge. He wanted to skirt the issue of what was running out here with the news on abortion. It's just really, really interesting. Now, here's my question, and I'm very careful when we talk about mental health and what's going on with people individually. That's real. Mental health is real. The question I have for Georgia voters who may be voting, and for all of us who may be paying attention to this, when we're talking about being a constituent, we're talking about people passing legislation, when they're having arguments, they're discussing different issues, topics, rights, and so forth. Who do we want in those seats? Do we want people who are able to comprehend? Do we want somebody who's able to articulate what it is that they're saying, that we're connecting the dots? Who do we want? I'm afraid, y'all know I get pushback on this all the time. I'm afraid that we are so focused, and y'all know I say this. I believe there is a time for down ballot voting. I believe it. I will be doing it this election, just like, well, I did do it already, just like I did it in 2020. There's times you just have to. At the same time, let's go back to California for a moment. Let's go back to the Los Angeles City Council. At the same time, we need to do our research. We need to do our vetting. We need to see, okay, is this the best person to represent me, to represent my family, to represent my community? Do they have my best at heart? Is there a connection? And in the voter resource guide out of Ready Publication, there's a list of questions there for you to ask yourself before you go into the polls to vote. We wanted to get that supplement out there, but these are questions we need to ask. And I know I get pushback on this all the time. People say just down ballot. I get there's a reason for that. And again, I do it at times. But then there are also times I will cross over to the other side because that's the better candidate. And I want to say this, and I'm not saying this in a boastful way, that system has never failed me. Never has it failed me. So I just want us to be mindful of that. Dr. Antoinette said, actually, he exceeded my expectations. I can't go there with you, but okay. and maybe your bar was extremely low. So if that's the case, okay. Kenny Stanley said, CTE Herschel Walker needs some help. Seriously. And I won't talk about Kanye West today either. There's several people who I think they're crying out for help, and they're crying out from a different way. Yes, Donita, we must do our research. Good morning, Stephanie Burbridge Hall. And again, welcome to everyone who's joining us from Twitter. If you don't know by now, I'm Gail Dudley. We're here Monday through Thursday at 7:25 a.m. So we're just so excited to now be on that Twitter platform. All right, y'all, real quick, y'all, American malls are shrinking. Online retail has been growing by leaps and bounds since the onset of the pandemic, and it is remaining strong. Fewer people are now shopping the malls. There's a lot of violence and things that are happening at malls, and people are making the decision to stay home. A lot of the premier shops and anchor stores are pulling out of malls. The total number of U.S. malls have declined from an estimated 2,500 in the 1980s to about 700 today. This is a report from Wall Street Journal. Many are turned into open air retail. Many of them are turning into Amazon pickup. There's just a lot that's going on. There's a lot that are remaining, a lot of malls that have remained standing but aren't operating. The president of the retail advisory firm SiteWorks, which track U.S. malls performance, told the Wall Street Journal that he expects the number of malls to continue to decline over the next decade. So maybe there may end up being 150 malls nationwide, but it depends upon the violence and the things that are happening. They're talking about a lot of shootings that are happening at malls, and people just aren't going to the malls anymore. Also, the Washington Post report that an executive from the former guy's Truth Social Media company filed a whistleblower complaint alleging that it violated security laws while trying to go public via SPAC. Will Wilkerson, at that time, was an executive for the former guy startup, Trump Media and Technology Group, was at a Fort Lauderdale meeting with the co-founder last October, and the co-founder wanted him to give up his shares to Melania Trump. Now, Trump had already been giving the family 90% of the company's share, while the 10% everyone else had to split among themselves. So just putting that out there, again, things that are going on, and we need to recognize, we need to open ourselves up to the truth. And we need to be armed with this information. Y'all go to factual sites. When I give this information here, hear it, but then go and research it for yourself and find out for yourself. Don't just take one person's word for it. Find out for yourself what's going on. I'll share another story with y'all later. I'm going to bring Kenny in, who's going to share some quick scores. Those of you, again, who are just tuning in, on Mondays, we have just some sports roundup of scores from Kenny Stanley, who has launched his own podcast. We believe here at News in Motion in launching other people. There's some great people, some great work that's going forward. And it was my desire to begin to promote people. So those of you who are tuning in for Twitter for the first time, when you see Kenny come in here, Kenny is just being launched into his own thing. And if you are tuning in from Twitter and you're like, I'm ready to launch something, give us a call or give us an email. Our email is newsinmotionwithgail@gmail.com. So with that, bring Kenny Stanley on in here. Good morning, Kenny Stanley. How are you with your cowboy and Ohio State flags behind you as your backdrop?
Oh, yeah. What's going on? How y'all doing?
We're good. Go ahead and give us those quick rundowns. I'll be back.
All right. News in Motion family, good morning. Welcome to Game Over with me, Kenny Stanley. It was a great weekend in sports this weekend. I see Mike Nicholson then got started already. Poor Kenny. That's funny, Mike. That's funny. Anyway, some big things happened this weekend in sports. A lot of people, it didn't go right for them this weekend. So here we go. There was a shakeup in the top 10 in the AP poll in football this week. Number one, Georgia held on to its spot. Number two, Ohio State Buckeyes held on to their spot. But Tennessee jumped up to number 3 after they beat Alabama. Number 4, Michigan held on to their spot. Number 5, Clemson held on to their spot. Back to that Michigan-Tennessee thing, I don't understand how Michigan didn't move up to number 3. Oh, that hurts to say. I don't know how they didn't move up to number 3. Tennessee just leapfrogged them. But anyway, that's another story. And Roll Tide rolled down to number 6 after they got beat by Tennessee. Number 7, Ole Miss held on to their spot. Number 8, TCU held on. Number 9, UCLA held on to their spot. And Oregon held on to their spot at number 10. That Alabama-Tennessee game is one for the ages. The only thing I didn't like about that Alabama-Tennessee game, neither of them played SEC football. It looked more like the Big 12 because they combined to put up 101 points. That's not SEC football. That's, I don't know what you call that. And also on the upset, used to be number 7 USC, but they got upset by Utah Saturday night, 43-42. In the NFL, the Atlanta Falcons flew by the 49ers, 28-14. The Browns did it again. They got beat, 38-15. The Jets smashed Green Bay 27-10. The Bengals roared into New Orleans and beat the Saints 30-26. So I guess it was who they over who that. Hey, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They played like the Steelers that I'm used to seeing. They beat up on Tampa Bay and Tom Brady 20-18. Last night I went to bed with a broken heart. My Cowboys got smashed. As the Eagles show why the Cooper Rush is just the backup quarterback and who can play a little bit, the Eagles beat up on my Cowboys 26-17. Tonight on Monday Night Football, we got the Broncos versus the Chargers. at 8:15 on ESPN. In Major League Baseball, the teams that I thought were going to be going to advance, they're headed home. The hottest team in baseball going into the playoffs, the Atlanta Braves, well, they got sent home packing by the Philadelphia Phillies as the Phillies won the series 3-1 after beating up on Atlanta Saturday 8-3. The Dodgers, who had the best record in baseball, they got sent packing too as they lost their series 3-1, and the San Diego Padres smashed them on Saturday 5-3. Houston swept Seattle 3-9 as they won Saturday 1-0, and the Yankees avoided elimination as they beat Cleveland yesterday 4-2. That's sports. Back to Gail. It's game over.
Game over. Love it, love it, love it. Y'all don't forget to catch Kenny as he launches his new podcast Saturdays at 4:30 Eastern time on all these platforms as well. So thank you, Kenny, so much. Thank you, thank you.
All right, everybody, have a good day.
All right. So once again, since we now are on Twitter, we want to make sure we are communicating very well with all of you. We're so happy that you are tuning in and we're seeing the numbers come through. So we just want to say thank you. Also, everyone right now, if you would do us a favor, click that like or click that heart to get the algorithm going. That really does shift the algorithm, believe it or not. So just throw up some hearts, throw up some thumbs up, throw up some likes, whatever that is, whatever platform you are tuning in, just go ahead and hit that so we can see that algorithm switch. That helps people find us. That is helping people find us. What's up, Valerie? That's helping people find us. So please do that. All right, y'all. So again, we want to welcome Twitter to this platform. We're so excited. We did some juggling here on our personal finances to make all of this happen, to come through this stream, to do that. So we were able to add a couple other streams on here. Right now, we launched the Twitter stream. You can find Twitter. If you can put that image up again, if you can find us on Twitter at NIM with Gail. You can find us on Twitter at NIM with Gail. So thank you for tuning in. Just to give you a little bit about who we are and what we do. We are an aggregated news source. We are grassroots media outlet. We bring relevant commentary. We are pulling from different news sources. We have different press badges. We are in different virtual press rooms. Sometimes we show up. We are going through the press releases. We're following stories and what we believe that we want to share. We put it out here. We give the facts. And if we find out that we make a mistake, we come back and we correct that as soon as possible. We're like a family. Again, we've been here since June 2020, excuse me. So we're like a family. A lot of us has been riding with NewsInMotion from day one. From day one, we were just on my personal Facebook page. We're now on Facebook and LinkedIn and Twitter. We're on the Ready publication site as well. So we just have a lot. We want to just bring you this news. So we're talking a lot about voting going up to November the 8th. And then we go into our holiday season and things that we're doing. We also share an inspirational message. For those of you who know me, I bring my inspirational message from a Christian perspective. Sometimes I give scripture, sometimes I do not. So hopefully you would join us as we even give that piece. We have people from different backgrounds that say they still listen to the inspirational message, which is always at the end of the broadcast, to give people time to sign off if they want to do so. But many people stay on because they say, even though they may not be quote unquote a Christian, they like the message that is shared. Misha saying, just followed on Twitter. So glad you're there. I'm glad you're there, sis. All right. So here's the inspirational message today. Now that I put that disclaimer out there, the inspirational message today is basically, if it had not been for the Lord, if it had not been, I did a evaluation. My husband is a pastor. He preached yesterday at Second Baptist Church in Columbus, Ohio. And he talked about time to just sit back and reflect and see what's going on in your life. And he called his sermon First Things First. And so I started looking at everything that's been going on in my life. And I'm like, wow, if it had not been for the Lord on my side, if it had not been, even through the most difficult times, if it had not been, I was doing like just a look back over my life. and look at where I am today. If it had not been for God on my side, I would have never launched NewsInMotion. If it had not been for the Lord, I would have never participated in some of the things I participated in. If it had not been, I would not have 14 published books right now, soon to be 15 and 16 in the very near future. If it had not been for the Lord, I don't know if I would still be in what I believe is my right mind right now. I don't even know if it's right for some people, but for me, in my right mind, if it had not been for the Lord, I even think about my marriage. I think about my children. I think about my work. I think about everything that I do. If it had not been for him, if it had not been for the Lord, if it had not been for him. So I want you today to think about and do a survey for yourself. Think about even the last year. Come on, y'all. Let's talk. We, as my husband called us yesterday, we are COVID survivors. We are all survivors who are still moving, walking, shaking. Come on, y'all. Over 1 million deaths in the U.S. alone. We are COVID survivors. When he said that, yes, I was like, yeah, we are COVID survivors. I am a survivor of something. If it had not been for the Lord, we would not have survived COVID. I'm not saying he took out other people. I'm not saying that at all. But I'm just thinking about me. Like I made it, and it's not over yet, but I made it. If it had not been for the Lord on my side, where would I be? That's how the song goes, right? Where would I be? So I just want you to do a survey. We're coming to the end of this year. Just look at where you thought that you have been defeated, where you thought you may have failed, where you thought it was all over. Log that and look at your growth. Look at where you are today compared to where you were before. Look at that and be honest with yourself, recognizing if it had not been. Again, thank you to all of our Twitter followers. It's amazing. I'm seeing these pop up on the iPad, and I'm just so excited that you're tuning in. Some of you have asked, and I'm very careful sharing this. I try not to share it regularly. Some of you have asked, how could you help? How can you help financially? Look, we are a grassroots organization. That's what we are. We're a media outlet. And we're always bringing you, our hope is that we're always bringing you information. You can join our Patreon, which is patreon.com/Gail Dudley. It's under the Gail Dudley brand. So you can join our Patreon. It's www.patreon. Thank you, Isaiah.com/Gail Dudley. And then you can also, there's and I don't have the address again, Kim Edmondson. Our fiduciary agent is Making a Difference LLC. You can send checks to them. What I did over the weekend, literally, I have no problem telling you. My husband said, that's it. That's it coming out of the personal account. You got to figure out how you're going to make this work. So we were able to launch onto other platforms today. We launched on Twitter. But he said, you're done with this. So I'm just trusting God. Again, if it had not been for God, I wouldn't even have had this to do what I did this weekend. But I believe the work that we're doing is that important, especially after doing our audience participation last week. So we're really excited about it. We're really excited about it. So again, thank you for tuning in. All right, y'all, that's all I have. So meet me right back here tomorrow at 7:25 a.m. Eastern time. I am Gail Dudley, the host of NewsInMotion. Y'all know what I say. Stay well, and remember, make some bold moves. I'm out.
NewsInMotion.